one. Okay, so I want to start with a question today. Do any of you ever get a t-shirt or a graphic design, say that t-shirt or something like that, and you always wonder, how do they get that graphic or that design onto it? You get a Nike t-shirt or you get an Adidas t-shirt, and it's your favorite t-shirt, but you always wonder, how do they get that design on there? So with that, we're kind of just going to move on over. This is what I did my senior project on, and it's called the Art of Screenprinting. So we're kind of going to start with the history of it. It started in 10th century China, which 10th century refers to before the year was even in the thousands, okay? So like 976 BC was when it started. So it started a really long time ago. We don't know that much about it. It started in the Song Dynasty and lasted for a few hundred years, but we don't really know the processes and then we really started to see an explosion of it in the 18th century when artists started to adapt it so that they could recreate their work and spread it more, which generated, I talk about it in my paper, which generated more pocket change for them, I guess you could say. And then it really blew up in the 19th century because corporates started to basically realize, like, hey, this is a really good business idea. And so they started to use that as their business and create t-shirts and kind of the stuff we know today. Now, the reason that it wasn't as popular in the 18th century is because, which I'll go over the process here in a second, but because when you use the mesh, it was originally made of silk, which was really hard to get. And then in the 19th century, when trade was made easier, and we also discovered polyester, we started using that, and we were able to trade for more silk, and so the process was then made easier, and that's when it really started to explode. And then from there, it's just been adopted by different artistry movements as the years have gone by, and stuff like that. So that's just a little bit of history. So, and then my experience, we'll talk about that for the majority of this. The next few slides will kind of detail my project, and it'll show my face with the process of that. So just a basic consensus. So screen printing, or the art of screen printing, is basically putting a graphic, putting a graphic onto a board, I guess you could say about this big, a metal frame with mesh. You put the graphic, or you burn the graphic onto there. And then basically what you do is you grab any color of ink, there's a multitude of them, and you lay some t-shirts or anything that you're printing down, and you put it down, and you basically use a squeegee, and you rub the ink over the t-shirts, and then when you lift up the little screen, is what we call them, the graphic is then on the t-shirt, and then you lay it on a dryer. So I'll kind of go over that as we move into these pictures. So this is the first picture. Just to start off, you have to include a picture of you happy with your project, or else that wouldn't make sense. So here's just me. I'm happy. I'm starting the preparation process for burning the graphic into the screen. And then just to be serious, this is actually me beginning the prep stages of burning the screen. And so that is my finished screen after I had burned the graphic onto it. And then this is me a few days later, after the screen was burned, which you can actually see the screen right here. I burned a graphic of a stethoscope on there. I was starting to apply ink onto the screen, and I tightened it, which I also talk about in my paper. I tightened the screen into this machine, which we call the press. I don't know the official name for it, that's just what we call it in the industry. So on to the next picture, this is just a closer up image of the actual graphic after I had spread the ink on it. Again, you can see that it is bolted and locked into the actual press machine, and then the stethoscope is sitting there with black ink, which is what I ended up using for my project. So here's just me. This is me shown working and actually using the squeegee to apply the graphic to the t-shirt. This is just several different pictures of the actual process. Right here, you see me just starting to grab the squeegee, the ink is right there, and then here you see me applying the stethoscope to the actual t-shirt. And then on here, this is the finished product. You can barely see, it'll get a close-up in just a second. So again, this is just a screen that I used, and this is me, I talk about it in my paper, gently lifting off the t-shirt, off of this sticky surface, or boards, or what we call them. And then again, you usually start from the base of the t-shirt and then move your way up into the arm sleeves, kind of. It just makes it so that the graphic doesn't bend, because sometimes it tends to do that. And so here in the previous picture, I had just lifted it up, and now I'm lifting it up from the t-shirt so that, or from the sleeves, so that the graphic doesn't bend. And then this is the final project, or the final product, and I'm just gonna start to put it onto the dryer, as you see here. And so obviously you can see I used a white t-shirt and then black ink to do that. And I'm just putting it onto a dryer, and that's the final product. And this dryer is heated to 650 degrees Fahrenheit on average, and it rolls through, I don't know, about this big, and it just rolls on through and then dries it and makes it so that the graphic doesn't spread everywhere, so it's not so wet, I guess you could say. So just what did I learn? So I talk about it a lot in my paper, but basically I learned to be really patient with either working or just homework, obviously since I'm a senior now, or just daily life with my siblings or stuff like that, just to be patient with them. I also learned that somehow it connects to my future career, because I used a lot of complex machines and a bunch of, like I said, this machinery that a regular civilian couldn't just walk in and use it. You know, they have to be taught, they have to learn how to do it for days, weeks, and sometimes even years in order to master it. And I kind of go over that process in detail in my paper. But it basically just covers how this completely relates to my future career in healthcare, because it really teaches me how to be patient, which, like I said, which will, what's the word? Which will transfer to me being patient with patients, or stuff like that. And so, and then again, just the complex machinery and using that, and getting to know that it takes years in order to master the art. And then just finally, just the final products that you see after you create something. Obviously me, the t-shirt, it was very self-satisfying to see the t-shirt and be like, I created that, it's perfect, there's nothing wrong with it. And like I said, I did it. And the same thing goes for the healthcare field. Like, you save a patient's life, and it's like, I did that, I was the one that operated on them, and I got it done, now they're here and they're safe. So I just thought that was cool. Anyways, just in conclusion, I don't think I have any more slides now. Just in conclusion, screen printing was a really cool experience, and I had the opportunity to do it as a job during the summer. And that's where I kind of learned how, and through several mishaps, not several, hundreds of mishaps and mess ups, like I said, just it helps me be more patient and more grateful of kind of the stuff that I create, or the stuff that I do. And just to conclude, I think that it would be a really cool idea, and it was a really cool idea for me or anybody else that wants to learn the art of screen printing. So yeah, thank you.